should Turkey get F-35s? I think that's the wrong question. The right question is, can they? And the answer to that question is no. There's a law on the books that would prevent this from happening. The only way that Trump could just do it is if he wanted to drop a nuclear bomb on the rest of his presidency and never be able to get anything else accomplished, because it would turn Republicans against him so badly. It would be the equivalent of nuking his entire base. They are not going to approve it. It has to get through not just Senate approval, but also House approval. And I can tell you right now, I was already looking up to see who is most likely to be opposed to it. And it is a large number. Plus, you got to factor into that the Thomas Massey types. They're also going to be against it. So it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen unless he declares a national security emergency. And that would be the equivalent of dropping the nuclear bomb on the remaining of his presidency.
Thank you, Texas. Tajal?
I just want to add some crazy thing Trump said. He said that if it wasn't for him, Turkey would have joined this war against the United States. I mean, with Iran. It's kind of crazy that in the same announcement, he's talking about how Turkey almost fought against the United States, clearly against the United States' interests, and then at the same time saying he wants to sell them airplanes. Like, it's kind of crazy. Another thing is I want to remind you guys that the Minister of Outside Affairs in Turkey just recently said that Israel is a plague on the world that needs to be destroyed and that needs to clear them out. And another thing, Erdogan mentioned one time that, not maybe one time, multiple times, that Israel used to be Ottoman territory, that they should go back to it, and that Israel shouldn't exist, and they very much supported Hamas. It's like crazy how much clear these guys are your enemies. It's absolutely crazy. But at the same time, I understand Trump is also trying to like play the game, keeping them close. I mean, keep your enemies closer.
First, Erdogan is in the Muslim Brotherhood, to which belongs Qatar, and I like to look out of the picture. The picture is Muslim Brotherhood, which is the party of Erdogan, and Turkey has troops, 400k to 400,000 troops. The biggest countries have never, not one country in Europe has 200,000 troops. Together they have 1 million, something like that. But they could do damage. Then they have imperialistic advantages, and it was also difficult to hold him back to go into Ukraine, because Ukraine was at a certain time belonged to the imperialistic Turkey, and he wants to widen his circle like normally gay people do. Sorry for this joke. And the EU, they are also still, sorry for saying that, cacked from the Afghanistan experience. Everybody simply didn't think, yes, but in Iraq we had been so long, we had been all the soldiers killed by Iranian bombs. So in Afghanistan we are killed by Iranian bombs. So why should we go to Iran? Because the parallel universe, Iran might maybe set bombs. They don't understand what was the problem behind that. And also it fits in this agenda from the WEF. Yeah, Iran is in the BRICS with together, and the WEF is underwhelmed with the CCP, World Economic Forum. CCP are the Chinese, the communist Chinese, and they still have. If you go on the website, they have this plan like America is not anymore, and we make now multipolar world, which means a Chinese world. And they would really like to have Azerbaijan and Turkey come together, and with China and everything. So it's to hold, and it's strategic, very clever where it's placed. That's why the NATO put the budgets for example, of the nukes there when the Soviet Union was there. So it's keeping Erdogan happy because he has some advantages, but he declared he wants to destroy the West. So I think that's the problem to me. Keep him happy, keep him low tune, and I think keeping crazy happy ends bad.
I like that philosophy. Jeffrey is next.
Yes, it's actually a really good topic to kind of like explore all the different nuances that kind of underwrite geopolitics and geostrat. So Texas was right on the money. So regarding President Trump's suggestion to consider selling F-35s to Turkey, what did President Trump actually say? He said the U.S. would lift sanctions, stated the U.S. would lift sanctions imposed on Turkey for buying Russia's S-400 air defense system that was under CAATSA's, that's the CAATSA law that President Trump initiated in his first term to punish elements of Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state that did, among other things, human rights violations inside Ukraine, particularly Donbass and Donetsk, if I remember correctly. He said that selling F-35 stealth fighters to Turkey is certainly something we'll consider, or definitely would consider. And he praised Turkey and Erdogan as much more loyal. Now I want to put this in context, much more loyal than other countries the U.S. expects loyalty from, and calls the F-35 by far the best plane by far. And the reason he's the much more loyal than other countries is he's hammering home again the fact that he is very unhappy with Western European elements of NATO that fucked us and didn't allow us to use our bases that we pay for to house and leverage our heavy bombers against the Mullah regime in the beginning stages of liberating Iran and or during Operation Epic Fury. That's the context of that. As far as why would President Trump, why would he consider assisting Turkey, especially considering that Turkey plays both sides? There's no doubt about it, right? It's like Turkey very much plays a dual game of a member of NATO, but with Russian ties, Hamas contacts, and tensions with Greece, Israel, and Cyprus. So, what are the reasons he probably is considering that? Strategic NATO and regional values. Turkey is a major NATO power, and it has the alliance's second largest army. It controls a key choke point, particularly to the Black Sea via the Bosporus axis, the Bosporus Strait. It has proximities to Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state-occupied Russia, Syria, and Mullah-occupied Iran. In the context of view on Iran tensions and recent strikes, Hormuz disruptions, he's maybe thinking that bolstering Turkey's air force could help counter Mullah influence and secure energy routes, stabilize post-conflict dynamics. Although I'm saying this is what he's thinking, I'm saying this is potentially why he's doing it. F-35s would modernize Turkey's air force, I mean, without a doubt. The leverage and realignment, the S-400 purchase was a major friction point, and I'll get into why that was in a second. Trump sees lifting the sanctions probably as a carrot to pull Turkey back towards the West and reduce Putin's influence and secure concessions. Trump frames Erdogan as a friend in Turkey as a relatively reliable partner compared to others. Again, this is pragmatic, like realpolitik over punishing past deals, and specifically because he is not happy with what Western, like European countries of NATO did when they denied our ability to use our heavy bombers. And maybe he's thinking, if we base our bombers in Turkey, they're a lot closer, and means the sortie rate goes really far up, and then we can really put a sting on mullahs that way. He has a personal political relationship with people. That's just kind of how President Trump deals with people. As far as like for our national defense industrial base that we have to build out, Trump's America First kind of transactional style arms sale boosts U.S. defense industry activity to help facilitate that. With some of the counter arguments, and these are real. This is why Dajjal is rightly angry and a lot of others. Security concerns. So the S-400 systems that were sold to Turkey could potentially, particularly considering that Erdogan plays footsie with Putin, could allow Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state to study and counter the F-35 stealth tech, even the ones that are export rated, because when we sell, there's even things that we sell that are tier one, we're very restrictive as to who we sell it to, and what we sell them is not the same as what we have. There's certain things that we downgrade. Still, it's not like they can't, like Putin won't send some, I don't know, Kamazar douche canoes into fucking Turkey to sit there and sit next to the radar computer and watch how the S-400 tracks an F-35 and then take that back to Putin. There's reliability issues, right? Turkey has ties to Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, energy, S-400. They have ties to Hamas, disputes with NATO members, particularly Greece. So that raises some serious questions regarding alliance cohesion. There's domestic pushback, right? As this is what Texas said. Strong bipartisan resistance on any sale that would face very serious legal hurdles. There's one other thing with regards to what's going on in Turkey. This is significant. It's true that the number one thing that defines Turkey's foreign policy or policy in general is Erdogan geopolitics, kind of economics, and Erdogan's leadership. That said, there is a strong secondary element, and that's not the least of which is you've seen a huge influx of Islamic fundamentalists into Turkey over the past maybe decade. And that has changed the domestic socio-cultural, I hate using this word because a person just so overused it, dynamics, and complicates Turkey's overall national policy. I think that also illustrates why you might want to have secured borders, right? Because if you have weaponized illegal immigration, in this case, Islamic fundamentalists that came, if I remember correctly, and please correct me if I'm wrong, through the eastern northern border of Turkey initially, at least about 10 years ago. That's starting to change things inside Turkey. Turkey today is not the Turkey of Prince Turk Ataturk. God, I miss the shit out of him. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I definitely would not want to sell F-35s. I understand we should consider it, and that's a valid point as far as like just de facto going, here you go, we're going to give you top tier F-35, non-downgraded. Yeah, fuck that. No. Even though I'm not a big fan of the F-35 because it's a manned pilot, and I, know the CEO of Lockheed. I mean, I very much love Lockheed. I mean, the future is clearly unmanned and fully autonomous. I don't want to give any additional measurement-based intelligence to any of our adversaries, even indirectly. That plays a role, right? Whenever you sell a capability, you lose control of it. For instance, when we were the ones that trained Ukrainian defense forces to use small drones to take out tanks, and that thing evolved, right? You had things like, like Ukrainians are unbelievably creative and brave. And they came up with, fiber optic guided FPVs. Take a guess who else learned how to do that? Hezbollah and our Israeli allies paid for that. Not in the sense that Ukraine did it on purpose. It's just whenever you demonstrate a capability or you sell one, you need to be very cautious as to how you game out what the overall cost of transferring that capability is. This also applies to Track 2 material support efforts, by the way. That's one of the things I keep hammering about in the lecture.
I think you've managed to go through every possible topic. So
Sorry.
Thank you, Jeffrey. But yeah, I think Kathy has a question for you about Track 2 material support later. But let's go to other responses on this topic for now. Armin?
But I did. That was for before. That was from the first topic. No, that was for the topic before. But it's okay.
Oh, okay. Then.
Oh wait. Oh, it's okay. No. We now remember. This is a question for Texas Troop. I understand that the F-35s cannot be sold to Turkey because of the things that you mentioned. But what do you think about the damaging effect of praising Erdogan? Praising President Trump, praising somebody who praised October 7th. Like, what about the damaging effect of that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts on that are, one, I personally don't like it. Okay. I do not like that language whatsoever. I think most Americans don't realize what he said. They're not really paying attention right now. So they're not really putting that together. And they probably don't even know what Erdogan said about October 7th. So that part will not damage him as much. unless the communists, and when I say communists, I mean all of them on both the left and the right, and I'm including the DSA people and all the people who say, well, I'm not a communist, I'm a socialist, because they're all communists, is what they are. Unless they get smart and they use that against him during midterm campaigning, against, who he's supporting. Because it's not him who's up for election, right? But the people he's supporting would be. So they might be using that strategically. So that's where it would be damaging, because Trump's electorate, the base, by and large, right now, are not paying attention to this closely, and they probably don't even know what he said.
Can I clarify? I wasn't talking about damaging to President Trump. I was talking about damaging it. I was talking about damaging in the sense that such an evil regime is praising Hamas and the genocide on October 7th is getting credibility and soft power by President Trump saying that. I wasn't talking about like President Trump getting hurt. I'm talking about the world getting hurt by praising terrorists, by praising the people who fund the genocide on October 7th.
No, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that most Americans don't even realize Erdogan said that.
Yeah, even if Americans don't realize that, that's not going to have an effect on the damage, right? Like, I mean, it's not just about American people, right? It's about the world. Like, I'm not talking about whether the Americans realize this or not. I'm talking about the global impact of supporting terrorists like that.
Now, I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying where it matters is because American electorate are the ones who elects the American politicians who then influence these policies that affect the rest of the world. Will it affect Trump politically in the midterms in terms of who he's supporting? I don't think so, because most Americans are not aware of what Erdogan said. Are we? Yes, because we are highly active and highly motivated and highly paying attention. But most of them are not. Do I think it is damaging? Yes, 100%. I think it's damaging to Israel for sure. I think it's damaging to the rest of the world that are against terrorists for sure. But unfortunately, the majority of the American electorate, including the independent swing voters, are just not paying attention to that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Yuval next.
Okay, yeah. So this F-35 thing is part of a pattern that we see in U.S. policy for many decades. I can trace it back even to the results of 1973 of the Yom Kippur War. It appears that someone in the U.S. likes Israel as an ally, but not as a too strong ally or a too victorious ally. And this reoccurs in 1973. They prevented Israel from achieving even a more decisive victory. We saw it now with Hamas giving a lifeline by Trump. And the F-35, the way it looks to me is Iran appears to be dealt with, and it looks like someone there is saying, okay, we cannot have Israel being the only bully in the neighborhood. We cannot have Israel being the strongest one in the Middle East and the one who calls the shots. We need to counterbalance. And I think it's part of that pattern. Not letting Israel becoming too strong in the Middle East, not letting the Middle East swing too much towards Israel and having Israel calling the shots alone, but always keeping Israel to a degree dependent in the U.S. on the U.S. Sorry.
Thank you, Yuval. Raham is next.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, that's actually a great point. I've been wondering whether this Trump is doing this and has something to do with the Abraham Accords, because they are wanting to pull out of the Middle East, but could they be possibly creating some sort of a India-Pakistan type of situation? So it's like, look, these guys are also here, but come and sign this with Israel, but they're not going to get too powerful because there's another army nearby who's, has some capacity, but not that much the Muslim people of the region, which is mostly at ease. Because otherwise, this doesn't make any sense why Trump is pushing this so hard. Yeah, just that.
Okay, thank you, Raham. If you could fix your audio issues because you have some good points, so if you could figure out a way for the sound to fix the audio, that would be really really good. All right, who's next?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Monkey is next.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't have a larger strategic, long-standing damage point. Yeah, like you could take it like that. You take like every word Trump says has this impact on the rest of the world forever, and you gotta like it's gonna change how the world sees. Yeah, you can't see it like that. Or you can't see that he's staying there. He's trying to be nice to these people, and he's trying to get along. He's not gonna give them an F-35. He's lying to them to their faces. They're stupid for believing it's gonna happen. Like, how can you? What is the larger impact of telling someone to their face in front of the whole planet that you're gonna give them something that you're not gonna give them? What's the impact of that? Like, if you really, oh my God, the respect these people have, you're giving these people respect. He's also disrespecting them to their fucking faces because they're not gonna fucking get that jet. They're not gonna fucking get it. There's no way in goddamn hell that they're gonna have that jet. So you can call it respect, but you also gotta see how much he's disrespecting them to his fucking face. Like he knows he has to go through a lot of approval. Yeah, maybe we could get you good stuff. Maybe you're a good guy. Maybe we could get you this. Maybe we could get you the. You know what? This guy, he's so nice. He didn't do stuff. Oh my God. You know what? You got to take the disrespect with the respect. You can't just ignore that part. He's basically giving him a pile of bullshit and say, "Here, come here, eat this bullshit. Believe in your fucking little head that you're going to get an F-35. Go ahead, believe it, you dumbass."
Monkey, you're chimping out. You gotta put your angry face on. Okay.
Next,
If
I'm
that,
sorry. I'll do it next time. Thank you for reminding.
all right, thank you. Jeffrey, you wanted to respond to Yuval?
I mean, I can understand. I understand why you. Well, I can't understand because I'm not Israeli. From an outside perspective, I can understand, at least appreciate the frustration. I'm gonna clarify something regarding U.S. involvement during the Yom Kippur War. So, the reason the United States stepped in and tried to de-escalate that conflict in a manner that didn't fully compromise our Israeli allies is because that is arguably the closest we ever came to a massive nuclear exchange between both sides of the Soviet era, the Cold War. People say, no, it's the Cuban Missile Crisis. Incorrect. The Cuban Missile Crisis had direct tension between us and the Soviets. That said, the relative force capability, like strategic capability, was far different in 62, where the Soviets had four, kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 R7 ICBMs that are liquid fueled and have to take 24 hours to launch, when we had over 120 sub-launch ballistic missiles that hit their targets in 4 to 6 minutes. That's one of the reasons why the Soviets backed down, because we would have just bukkakied them with red, white, and blue nuclear semen all over their commie face pussy. Yeah, no bullshit. So that being said, in 1973, the Soviets had obtained rough parity with us. There was very much a threat, if I remember correctly, of Soviet unilaterally getting involved. So it's not like our efforts in the Yom Kippur War wasn't like, wow, we want Israel to win, just not too much. It was, oh shit, this might actually escalate to a nuclear exchange. This needs to be, we need to put the lid on this. You know, it's I'm not saying it isn't. There was a lot of frustration there, Yuval, including things that happened to our seamen, right? Everybody understood that was a mistake. It was a shit sandwich for everybody to eat there. And we weren't betraying you, buddy. I promise. If what would have happened to Israel if you had a massive, like a global exchange, brother? You would have died right along with the rest of us.
Okay, let's go to Cat Lady next.
Okay, so I have a couple of points to say about that. I'm not an expert, but first of all, the risks are, let's talk generally. Sorry. Turkey uses, or at least has, the Russian air defense systems. And those currently, I think no defense system can shoot down an F-35. It's completely superior. And the worry is that once they have access to it, those air defense systems can be somewhat, one day, learn how to deal with F-35. The second thing is that the F-35 is not only what it seems, it also has very, very advanced systems on it. For example, it maps the areas where it flies above. Every even like flight is mapping another area, like in very, very good detail. So it's a strategic advantage, and it can be used in different ways. Let's just say it this way. The other thing, the strategic thing, currently Israel, which is a small country with not a big army, the advantage for it is the sky, the air superiority. Absolutely no one has F-35 besides Israel in this area, and it's not like they didn't want to. Like it's been talked about before. It's an old issue. Egypt, I think, even wanted it a couple of years ago. Many, I don't know, UAE, I think, I'm not sure, but it's like it's not a new thing, and it's kept this way. So if Israel loses this advantage, it's a strategic thing. It's an issue. Also, because Israel, when it goes to Iran, for example, it's going through Syria and Iraq, and it's close to Turkey, and it's an issue. It might be harder to do that. But I think maybe it's an effort. I'm thinking, maybe I would love to hear that maybe it's also because Turkey is like an enemy to Iran. So maybe that's the thinking somehow. And I think it's obvious that Turkey has a lot of power and hold over Syria right now, which is a very, very important place to. You want some of that. That's all I have to say for that.
Okay, thank you, Cat Lady. Siddhartha, go ahead.
I just have a couple of anecdotes on that sort of illustrate the complexity of Turkish-Israeli relations. So one is these are both recent, but pre-October 7th. One is I was at the Istanbul airport. I was there for a long layover at the Turkish Airlines lounge, which is very nice. And they allow they have some like private rooms with showers, and so we thought, let's see if we can get one. We went up to the lady who was managing that, and she gave us a room, and so we said thank you, and she said to my wife, bevakasha, which means you're welcome in Hebrew. My wife said to her, oh, are you Jewish? And she said very sheepishly, no, but I wish I was. So it was a very kind of sweet but kind of puzzling reaction. But anyway, it was really sweet. And then the other one is right after there was a big earthquake in February of 2023 in Turkey and Syria, and we had a cab. We were taking an Uber, and I just saw that the name of the driver was Turkish. So this is just it was just like days after the earthquake, and I asked him, "Everything okay with your family?" And he said, "Oh yeah, thankfully everything is fine. Thanks for asking." And then he started to open up, and he was just trashing Erdogan, just trashing him, he's a monster, he's a thief, he's a crook, he's a like everything, like anything. He just went on a rant, and then he says, I don't even think he's Turkish. And we were like, oh yeah, like what is he? He said, I think he's Israeli. And my wife and I just burst out laughing, like, but it was really shocking also, because this guy seemed like a very like sort of westernized Turkish fellow, like who had spent a lot of time in the U.S. and was living in Miami. And And then, so we just kind of like couldn't control ourselves. And we just said, okay, she's Israeli. And so he's like, oh, well, yeah, but I think he's not Turkish. I really think he's Israeli. So he doubled down, but like you could see that he was really embarrassed. And then as we got out of the cab, he was like, look, sorry if I insulted you or whatever. So we were like, yeah, no problem. It's fine. But it shows you like that there is, like, even in a sort of a westernized anti-Erdogan Turk, that there are some really like retrograde and silly ideas about Israel. So that's all I had to share.
Thank
Wait,
you.
Can I share a story about my mom when she was alive? So my mom in Vancouver went to this English school because she was really obsessed with making her English perfect for some reason. And she had two friends there. These are like older women in their 50s, and they got along a lot, right? Like they were friends. And the thing is that one of them was Israeli. So there's three of them, my mom and these other two women. And the other woman didn't know. The other woman was Muslim, but she didn't know the other woman, one of the three, was Israeli. And then one day they were sitting, and I don't know what they said, but she realized that. She was like, yeah, wait, you're Israeli? And remember, they were hanging out and friends for a while, right? And they were, really nice, three of them. And she said, yes, I'm Israeli. You didn't know? And she looked at her, and then she spat in her face and then walked away. And that it was just my mom left and that woman. And the Israeli woman just started crying. And my mom hugged her, and she said it's okay. She cried. She was just crying and crying. And they were friends with each other the entire semester. And then as soon as she realized that she's Israeli, she just spat right in her face and walked away. But anyways, this is in Vancouver, Canada, by the way.
Yeah, that's. You mentioned it at the start, and like as you were telling the story, for some reason I started thinking it's in Iran because I don't know what the fuck that is. Okay, Dajjal, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Yuval, because he made some interesting points. He said that he thinks everyone wants Israel as an ally, but they don't want them to get too strong. I wanted to ask you why you think that is exactly. I think you have a point with that, but I'd like to hear you elaborate on that. Are they afraid Israel's just going to go nuts, start killing everyone? Do they care about civilian casualties? What do you think it is exactly that they don't like about Israel, that they're so distrusting of them becoming a regional superpower?
If Danny, you okay, I'll respond.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think there are two levels to the answer. Depends on how crazy I want to go. So the less crazy answer would be, if Israel, the less Israel, the Middle East is important to the US. It's important to many players, including the US.
Yes.
The more Israel is, the stronger Israel gets, the less it is dependent on the US. The less it is dependent on the US, the less influence US has in the Middle East. So it's, from the cynical point of view, of course, it is US interest that it would have a sheepdog there, but that the sheepdog will always be afraid of the wolves, right? You don't want the sheepdog turning to the wolf there if you're the shepherd. You don't want the sheepdog to turn on you if you're the shepherd. You want the sheepdog there that you can rely, but not too strong. That is the cynical point of view. Even if Israel doesn't go full messianic crazy one day and bombs everyone, even if Israel behaves, you still want it dependent on you. At a more, I say, conspiratorial point of view, it is my view that there are forces in the world, I'm not sure who they are, that make sure that the world will never be too stable. Because when the world is too stable, they have less control of us as individuals. And one of the ways to ensure the world is not stable is to ensure the Middle East is not stable. And one of the ways to ensure the Middle East is not stable is to ensure that there is no one big bully that manages the Middle East. Rather, there are at least two players in conflict with each other. This is the higher, wacky, conspiratorial level, but that's me. I don't have hardcore proof for it. It's just my conspiratorial mind running wild. These are the two answers I can give you.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. That actually makes a lot of sense. I also think there's a lot of people who are absolutely terrified of the Islamic Republic falling. Because if they fall, they're afraid that there will be a pro-Western government installed, and then Israel will definitely become a regional superpower along with Iran, a free Iran, and that would simply make them too powerful, and that terrifies them. Like I see people on X, anti-Israel, anti-Zionist, anti-Semites, basically say just that. Like if the Islamic Republic falls, like it's all over. Like that's what a lot of these people think. It's all over. Israel won. It will. There'll be nothing stopping them, and it I think it deeply terrifies a lot of these people, and it also takes away one of the biggest propaganda pieces they have. That is, if you go to war with Iran, well, there's going to be, we're going to get into another 20-year war. It's going to be disaster. There's a lot of people, a lot of influencers who will lose a lot of power if that happens. And the isolation is like, I mean, what would Thomas Massey do at that point? What would he really have? I mean, I know he's getting kicked out, but Thomas Massey, Ron Paul, all these people, they would lose a lot of influence, and they'd lose the it's kind of their golden goose in a way, so to speak. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think they like that at all.
All right, thank you, Deja. All right, let's go to super chats.
Okay, we got 5 super chats. Thank you, guys. Hamid with a super chat saying, so is the US actually getting into a legit fight with the IRGC, or is it just putting on a show for something, like force them to negotiate? Because talking to idiots is effing useless. I think, Hamid, I think that even if they try to negotiate, and I know that you can negotiate with these Tuckers, and it will fail. And at one way or another, we are going to go back to military operations. And the scale of the military operations is unknown, but it could be low at sometimes. It's going to be high at other times. But even so, right now we have an MOU, which is not a deal. We have negotiations, which are, we have a ceasefire that doesn't look like a ceasefire, but we don't have a deal, and we don't even have anything close to a deal. But even if we had a deal, that's a big, if we get a deal, which is a big if, the deal will not hold. President Trump made it very clear today also that his understanding now is not even forget an MOU, not even a deal with the Islamic Republic will hold. It will violate it the first chance they get, even if you had. So forget about violating an MOU or a ceasefire agreement. The Islamic Republic would violate an actual deal, even if we could get to a deal. This is inevitable. This is deterministic. We have started finally responding to the Islamic Republic, and it will not end until the Islamic Republic falls. The level of military operations could be questioned. When we're going to go back to much more significant military operations, I don't think anybody could predict that, but it is inevitable, in my opinion, one way or another. And thank you for the super chat. And then we have Fleshy Interloper with the super chat saying, no, but India should get F-35s. India did send a delegation to Ali Khamenei's. They recently did something that I was not happy with. I think they sent a delegation to Ali Khamenei's funeral, didn't they? Anyways, so here's the problem. As much as I love India, India is too close to Russia. So I think, I'm going to go with Monkey. Monkey was saying, yeah, so people are also confirming that India did send a delegation to Ali Khamenei's funeral. So yeah, also they play too much of a both sides on these things. They're not. It's uncomfortable how much on both sides of these things they are. I think Monkey was saying other than Israel, he's comfortable with Japan getting F-35s. I think giving Japan F-35s is a good idea as pressure against China. I think that's a good alternative. If we're going with any other country other than Israel, I think Japan is the best idea. But maybe you're right. I don't know. But we'll see. Okay, and then we got Ida with a super chat saying, "Hey guys, just joined in. Is it the end of the world yet, or are we okay?" I think not yet, Ida. Not yet. We're still okay. But thank you. Thank you for the super chat. And then Jennifer with the super chat. Oh, look at this. This is very sweet. Thank you, Jennifer. Saying, Armin, your podcast with Haviv Ritig Gur, so ask Haviv anything, was great. Wonderful job, Armin. And I still love your laugh so much. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. You know, you guys made me more comfortable laughing because I used to think it's like ugly or something. I don't know. But thank you, Jennifer. And then, yeah, and guys, this is a good reminder. Go check out Ask Haviv Anything. Go check out that YouTube channel. Their most recent video is an interview with me. And honestly, I also think, I'm not going to be humble about it. I think I did a good job. I think I really did a good job. So please go check it out. It was really good. It was about the uprising of the Iranian people, whether the revolution is going to continue, what state are we at, what are we at, what is the view of the Iranian people over the MOU, the negotiations, a lot of challenging questions regarding Princess of Pahlavi that I answered, and I think I did a really good job answering that. So please check it out. And Hamid with another super chat. Thank you so much, Hamid, saying giving F-35s to Turkey is like giving gun to Jeffrey Dahmer or Ted Bundy. Turkey literally supporting terrorism. That would be effing stupid decision. Yep, that would be an effing stupid decision. It's interesting because they support terrorism and they don't hide it. Qatar, it doesn't come out and say like, "Oh yeah, we support Hamas." They do. Qatar does support Hamas, but they don't come out there like, "Oh no, we are just basically an unbiased mediator." But they actually fund Hamas. But Turkey has the audacity to come out and say like, "Yeah, we love Hamas. Go Hamas. October 7th was a great, like, yeah, fight Israel, destroy Israel, liberate Jerusalem." That's how transparent Turkey is when it comes to supporting terrorism.
My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.